Greetings, I am Dr. Eder Dovisconslash. My medical knowledge and experience span more than 3 decades, and my specialty is men's health after the age of 60. Today, I want to share information that can become a decisive factor for a comfortable old age or prevent years of quiet suffering from a problem that affects millions of men, an enlarged prostate. Many men believe that nighttime urges to urinate, difficulty starting the stream, and the feeling of a full bladder are inevitable companions of aging. In reality, that is not true. These are clear signals that your prostate may be in danger. And the most alarming part is that negative consequences for prostate health can be caused not only by natural aging, but also by habits we repeat daily without realizing their harm. A study published in the journal Urology showed that more than half of men over 60 suffer from moderate or severe urinary symptoms, often associated with benign prostatic hyperplasia. These manifestations depend directly on lifestyle, not on natural aging. In my practice, I have treated many men with severe symptoms. Some experienced complete urinary retention. Others suffered constant distress. At the same time, I met men over 80 who had no problems at all. The point is that they reviewed their habits in time. The essence is simple. The difference between those who suffer and those who live comfortably lies in the small details of daily routine. I will now show you the 10 most dangerous habits that can negatively affect your prostate. The first is so common that you may be doing it right now without realizing the harm it causes. In 10th place, prolonged sitting. I understand that after 60, the sofa, an armchair, or a chair on the veranda can be especially appealing. But remember, if you spend a lot of time motionless, this has a direct negative effect on your prostate health. Remaining in one position, especially sitting, leads to constant pressure on the pelvic area. This pressure restricts blood flow to the prostate, creating favorable conditions for chronic inflammation and, ultimately, for enlargement. Prolonged sitting also adversely affects the pelvic floor muscles, weakening them. As a result, it becomes harder to empty the bladder completely, which can lead to urinary retention and, consequently, irritation, infections, and recurrent prostate enlargement. Men with a sedentary lifestyle who spend long hours sitting, whether in front of the TV, with a book, or at a desk, face an increased risk of unpleasant urinary symptoms. These include a weak urine stream, urgency, and frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom. Fortunately, the solution is simple. Every 30 minutes, stand up and move for 2 to 3 minutes. This might be a walk to get a glass of water, a leg stretch, or a brief stroll around the house. Even a small effort, such as changing position, already improves circulation and reduces pressure on the prostate. A sedentary lifestyle quietly undermines health, and any movement, even minimal, is a powerful tool for preserving prostate health. Ninth, excessive consumption of red meat. Red meat is a true love for many, whether it's weekend kebabs, a skillet steak, or sausage on a plate. But consuming too much of it, especially in older age, can be one of the key factors provoking prostate enlargement. Studies show that diets high in red meat, especially processed meats like bacon, sausages, and cold cuts, are directly linked to higher levels of inflammation in the body. And where there is chronic inflammation, there is a risk of prostate growth. The problem lies not only in the meat itself, but also in saturated fats and chemical additives used in processing. These substances affect hormone production, especially testosterone, and contribute to imbalances that directly affect the prostate. In addition, the male digestive system generally slows with age, and red meat is harder to digest. It causes bloating, weight gain, and additional pressure on the pelvic area. This does not mean you must give up meat entirely, but you should reduce intake to once or twice a week and choose lean cuts and lighter methods of preparation. In everyday life, replace it with healthier protein sources such as fish, eggs, grilled chicken breast, or even legumes, beans, lentils, and chickpeas. Besides helping control prostate growth, you will feel lighter, experience better digestion, and have more energy. Remember, what you put on your plate directly affects your prostate's health, and excess meat at the wrong age can be costly. Number 8, insufficient water intake. You might think that drinking less water during the day will mean fewer nighttime trips. But this is one of the worst mistakes a man can make regarding his prostate. When the body is dehydrated, urine becomes more concentrated and acidic. This irritates the bladder and prostate, causing inflammation, burning, and worsening urinary symptoms. And that's not all. The prostate lies directly beneath the bladder. If the bladder suffers, so does the prostate. If you drink little water all day, the body accumulates toxins, overloading the entire urinary system. The result: more inflammation, more urinary retention, more pressure on the prostate, and, over time, a higher risk of hyperplasia. Another important point: many men over 60 take medications that promote fluid loss, such as diuretics or antihypertensives. This further worsens dehydration, and a man may not even notice it. The rule is simple: sip water throughout the day, even if you don't feel thirsty. Ideally, your urine should be clear or very pale yellow. If it's dark or has a strong odor, that's a warning sign. Don't fear water. It's your natural medicine, your cheapest anti-inflammatory, and one of your prostate's main allies. Number 7. Avoiding doctor visits. This is a quiet, dangerous habit. Many men go to the doctor only when the problem is already unbearable. But when it comes to the prostate, waiting too long can be costly. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, enlargement of the gland, usually begins without pain, alarm, or obvious signs. That's why regular checkups are crucial. Simple assessments like a digital rectal exam and a PSA test allow early detection of changes. Caught in time, symptoms can often be alleviated through lifestyle changes alone, without medications or surgery. The problem is that many men feel embarrassed or resistant, believing that discussing urination, the prostate, or a rectal exam is unnecessary. But medicine is not based on pride. It is based on prevention. I have seen countless patients who came in too late with infections, urinary retention, and even late-stage tumors, situations that could have been avoided with a simple annual visit. If you're over 60, schedule a routine appointment, even if you feel well. Prevention is always the wisest path and often the only way to preserve your autonomy, comfort, and quality of life. Don't wait for your body to scream. Listen while it's still speaking softly. Number 6. Excess belly fat. Few men realize how much a big belly affects the prostate. But let me be direct. Belly fat is not just an aesthetic issue. It is one of the main risk factors for prostate enlargement after 60. The fat that accumulates around the waist, visceral fat, is not merely cosmetic. It is highly metabolically active, producing inflammatory substances that circulate throughout the body, even affecting the prostate. These compounds increase the risk of hyperplasia, put pressure on internal organs, and directly correlate with hormone levels that influence prostate size, such as testosterone and estrogen. A study published in the Journal of Obesity and Metabolic Syndrome showed that men with a waist circumference over 102 centimeters have a significantly higher risk of moderate and severe urinary symptoms associated with benign prostatic hyperplasia. In other words, the bigger the belly, the higher the risk. And that's not all. Excess abdominal weight puts pressure on the bladder, pelvic muscles, and prostate, leading to frequent urges and difficulty fully emptying the bladder. You don't need drastic changes. There's no need to lose 20 kilos at once. Reducing sugar, controlling portions, and taking regular, even if not intense, walks will already yield positive results. Even losing 3 to 4 kilos of visceral fat can noticeably improve urinary symptoms and boost overall energy. The belly is not only about appearance. It's a health issue, a quiet signal that your body and prostate need support. Number 5. Holding urine. It may seem trivial, but regularly holding urine is one of the most dangerous habits for the prostate. Unfortunately, many men commit this offense daily due to rush, reluctance, or a lack of convenient restroom access. It's important to understand that the bladder and prostate function as a unit. Prolonged urine retention stretches the bladder. Internal pressure increases, and that pressure directly impacts the prostate sitting just below it. Over time, this habit causes irritation, inflammation, and weakening of pelvic muscles, making it harder to empty the bladder completely. The result is residual urine, infections, a constant feeling of fullness, and additional stimulation of prostate growth. And that's not all. The older a man becomes, the weaker the musculature controlling urination. Extending the time you hold urine only worsens the loss of control. Studies presented in the International Neurourology Journal indicate that habitual urinary delay in men over 60 provokes increased inflammatory processes and a worsening of prostatic symptoms. Therefore, never ignore your body's signals. When you feel the urge, go to the bathroom. No matter how busy you are, whether away from home or in the middle of something important, this simple step can spare you months or even years of urinary distress. While holding urine may seem insignificant, it is in fact constant pressure on the prostate, and it will not go unanswered. Number 4. Overly spicy and heavily processed foods. Diet is one of the most effective tools for maintaining prostate health. Unfortunately, many men contribute to prostate enlargement daily by eating inflammation-triggering foods. Spicy dishes and preservative-laden products provoke hidden inflammatory processes throughout the body, and the prostate, being highly sensitive to inflammation, inevitably reacts to this negative factor. Hot sauces, excessive black pepper, sausages, chips, processed meats, and fast food. All of these stimulate inflammatory responses, disrupt hormonal balance, and lead to benign prostatic hyperplasia. In addition to high sodium, artificial dyes, and unhealthy fats, such foods increase internal pressure in the urinary system, impair circulation, and promote fluid retention. Studies, for example, in the journal Nutrients, point to a connection between pro-inflammatory diets and increased prostate size, as well as worsened urinary symptoms in men over 60. In other words, food that seems harmless can feed urinary discomfort, insomnia, pelvic pain, and even increase the risk of future complications. The good news is that recovery begins on your plate. Prioritize natural anti-inflammatory, fresh foods, vegetables, greens, fruits, olive oil, nuts, fish, and whole grains. They help reduce swelling, balance hormones, and protect the prostate in the long term. In the early stages, the prostate doesn't announce problems with sharp pain. It whispers through various symptoms. Proper nutrition can help you hear that faint signal and stop it. Third, remember, smoking or frequent exposure to smokers. If you continue to smoke or are surrounded by smokers, I must tell you plainly, tobacco is one of the most dangerous enemies of your prostate. Chemicals in cigarettes, such as nicotine and free radicals, directly damage prostate tissue, reduce blood flow, and cause chronic inflammation. Over time, this not only contributes to enlargement, but also increases the risk of prostate cancer and erectile dysfunction. Even if you don't smoke, but are constantly in smoky environments, the risk remains. Research shows that passive smoking can also lead to cellular damage and increased prostate size in older men. One such study, published in the American Journal of Epidemiology, followed more than 5,000 men for 7 years and found that those exposed to secondhand smoke had a 40% higher risk of moderate and severe urinary symptoms, and hyperplasia progressed faster. Smoking also reduces the production of natural antioxidants needed to protect prostate tissue from oxidative stress. Worse still, it disrupts sex hormone balance and accelerates inflammatory processes. The good news: the body begins to recover almost immediately after quitting. Within weeks, circulation improves, inflammation decreases, and symptoms begin to recede. If you smoke, talk to your doctor. In addressing prostate problems, there are various options: natural therapies, alternative treatments, and even breathing exercises. If you've already quit, avoid places that smell of smoke because your prostate needs oxygen, not toxins. It is also important to remember that uncontrolled chronic stress, often ignored and destructive to prostate health, is one of the most common problems in men over 60. Stress is not just emotional tension or anxiety. It is a destructive physiological process that triggers a continuous chain of inflammatory reactions in the body, posing a serious threat to the prostate. Constant tension, anxiety, fear, or anger lead the body to produce cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Excess cortisol provokes tissue inflammation, disrupts sex hormone balance, tightens muscles in the pelvic region, and affects urinary tract function. The consequences are as follows. Nighttime urination becomes more frequent. Emptying the bladder is more difficult. Pain intensifies. Urgency increases. Inflammation progresses, and the prostate enlarges further. Studies, such as those in psychoneuroendocrinology, demonstrate a direct link between chronic psychological stress and increased prostate volume, as well as worsened urinary symptoms, especially relevant for men over 60. Saddest of all, stress harms immunity, elevates blood pressure, disrupts sleep, and worsens erections. It's a hidden threat many carry without realizing its danger. Fortunately, coping with stress is not that difficult. Simple actions, daily walks, a 5-minute deep breathing practice, listening to favorite music, improving sleep quality, connecting with loved ones, and even more laughter can lower blood cortisol levels. You don't need a monastic vow. But remember, without caring for the mind, the body will not respond to our requests. And the prostate, in particular, suffers silently when stress peaks. To preserve the health of the genitourinary system, your vitality, inner calm, and dignity start with what is hidden from the eye but destructive from within. In first place, excessive caffeine consumption. I know coffee is, for many men, an integral part of daily life, a nearly sacred ritual. But when caffeine intake exceeds reasonable limits, it stops bringing pleasure and becomes a potential threat to your prostate. Caffeine is a natural diuretic, stimulating the body to produce more urine. This adds load to the bladder, provokes frequent urges, and forces the urinary system to work in overdrive. If you already have sensitivity or an enlarged prostate, this extra stimulation can significantly worsen symptoms. Caffeine also provokes contractions of the muscles surrounding the bladder, hindering complete emptying. The result is residual urine, increased pressure on the prostate, more inflammation, and more frequent nighttime trips. A study published in the Journal of Urology found a link between excessive caffeine intake and moderate to severe urinary symptoms, particularly in men over 60. Moderate coffee consumption, such as 1 cup in the morning, usually doesn't carry risks. However, 3 to 5 cups throughout the day can be dangerous. Try reducing coffee, replacing it with mild teas, herbal infusions, or decaf. Pay attention to your body's response. In most cases, symptoms improve within a few days. Remember, this is not about giving up favorite drinks entirely, but about making sensible choices that benefit your long-term health. Every mindful decision will contribute to your prostate's well-being. Now that you know the 10 habits that can negatively affect prostate health, an important question arises. What will you do today? Most men face the problem only when they already feel discomfort, insomnia, difficulty urinating, or even preparing for surgery. But you have a unique opportunity, reliable, clear, and practical information in your hands. There is no need for sweeping changes all at once. Start changing your life today by adopting one new habit. For example, stand up more often, drink more water, or reduce coffee intake. Don't put it off. Book that appointment you've long delayed. Remember, any change begins with small but consistent steps. If you like this video, leave a like. It helps us continue creating similar content. Most importantly, share it with other men around you, friends, relatives, neighbors. Your care may save a loved one from unnecessary suffering and even serious disease. Prostate health is a daily choice that begins at home, and men who have the courage to care for their health do so before it is too late.